Hey there, welcome to day one of the Thriving Musician Challenge. I'm your host and ever glad to connect with you. So if you're if you're watching live or on the replay, just let me know. I would love to connect with you. And again, my intention over the next 3 days is to give these micro trainings and not just inform you, but inspire you to see what's possible, and really for the purpose of helping more people. So I'll be inviting some folks, if it's the right fit, to apply for a new program I have. But whether or not it's a good fit for you, my intention is that I just help you and you leave with some increased capacity to be creative across all of your career. I want you to be able to notice and observe some new opportunities opening up in this very complex and evolving landscape of a life in music. So I want this to be useful and worthwhile to you. So please let me know what you're finding useful. You can leave little nuggets in the comments. And I want this to be really relevant, especially if you're a professional or an advanced or high-level musician, especially a performing and or teaching artist. Now, if you're amateur just beginning, I do have many other trainings available, but this is really focused on that professional or high-level musician. So I find that people in that situation, I'll just dive in, find themselves solving a problem, but that poses an additional problem. What do I mean? You've finally found a way off of that revenue roller coaster, that feast or famine cycle as a freelancer. You found some stability in your career, but you found along the way, you paid for it with a little chunk of your soul. I want to be clear that a life in a creative path absolutely involves costs, right? Those are unavoidable. We're always making trade-offs. We're always making compromises. We're always having to do things we may not like to do in order to do the thing we want to do. But if it's a concern if that trade-off has neither been conscious for you or you're not content with that trade-off. If so, this is the place for you. And I want to empower you and those you're eventually going to lead to be able to thrive. So let me quickly dive into what I mean by thriving. For me, that's just comprehensively flourishing across all areas of your life and career. It's the ultimate game, combining profit and purpose, income and impact. I linked to my sort of thriving musician framework in that pre-challenge, but I just want to overview this again and go ahead and share my screen here. And really, I'll give you an orientation over where we're going to go over the next 3 days. So you should be seeing this little triangle here. Let me know. So for me, the 3 phases of really being a thriving musician have to do with how you model, right? You become that person who not just instructs or entertains, but who inspires. And you got to lead from what you live. You also got to know how to market yourself and be in the market, right? This is where a lot of folks really get caught up. And then third, but not in the least, the most important, I think, is you're doing all this so you can multiply your impact, right? Leave a legacy, pass down that baton for what you experienced. So how do we do that? The big practice you got to be engaged with when in day one, we're going to look at what it is to model that, is to really know how to prepare. Prepare yourself, prepare to act, prepare to produce. So we're going to look at drill down to 3 parts. We'll look at the parts of preparing, the impacts of it. I'll give you some tools to be able to diagnose or assess where you're at. That's what this little colors are. I'll talk more about that in a minute. And also some practices, some principles to put this into play. So you got 3 areas you got to be able to prepare yourself in. One is your perspective. I'll abbreviate it there. The other one is how you practice, right? On your instrument, in your discipline. And third, how you perform. And not just perform a concert, but how you perform externally, how you put that internal work into play. So you might find yourself, let's drill down into the first one, perspective. You might find yourself in a certain mood, right? That could be a mood of cynicism and despair, or even arrogance, thinking you're going to do this all by yourself as a solo artist. We're always in community, and that's what's going to make the biggest difference for you. You could find yourself struggling with imposter syndrome, that story, you're not worthy enough, somehow you have to have it all together. when the secret is no one has it all together, right? And you might be finding yourself making really small requests. So not knowing how to really ask for what you want, right? I come from a background and a culture in which if you ask for too much, you're perceived as maybe above your station, right? So I'm learning how to say, thank you so much for that opportunity. Can I see you and raise, right? Finding ways to do that. For practicing, you got to diagnose whether you're plateauing, right? I've heard people talk about that as road chops. You're engaged and you're so busy, you're not really putting in that work to develop yourself and continuously improve yourself, right? And challenge yourself, especially when you reach a high level. You can really coast off of decades of work and not really be reinvesting and reinventing your playing. You could just find yourself phoning it in, right? You could be doing the work, but you're not really emotionally engaged with it. You're just checked out. You might be burnt out. And last but not least, sort of as you are assessing yourself and diagnosing yourself, if you're struggling from performance anxiety, I'm going to abbreviate it, music performance anxiety. We work a lot in my Unleash Performer Masterclass about moving from stage fright to stage flow. And there's a great study actually on how to use free improvisation to help yourself with that. Let me know, I can send you that study if you're geek for that stuff like me. If you're finding yourself stuck like writer's block, right? If you're composing or arranging and just the well is dry, those are all symptoms that the way you're preparing is not effective. So I'm going to stop share for a second and just say, how would you value yourself if you were to give yourself using that stoplight, red, yellow, green? Do you feel like starting with red, like things are totally broken in one or all areas? Do you feel like yellow, like they could do some improvement, but it's on the fence? Or green, you'd give yourself, I'm all systems go, or I'm working on what I need to work on and I know I'm going to get better at that. So you can leave that comment below. That would be great. It's always good to make this interactive and not just a lecture, because that's the fun part of being in this community. Secondly, I'm going to jump into what it looks like, not just to analyze the sort of parts of what you're doing and to look at the impacts of being completely engaged in all of those areas or really failing in them, and learning how to turn your failure into that opportunity to really grow. I'm going to look at some practices, and I'll scroll down here and let me just create a new page for myself. I'll share the screen again. You should see a blank page here. And this comes out of acceptance and commitment coaching. Really powerful 3 principles that you can put into practice. So how do you really effectively prepare and model that thriving musician? Work on yourself so when you step out, you can really be more for the people you're called to serve. First one is just simple but powerful. Be here now. That has to do with your presence, your connection to the present moment. Are you in the moment? Or are you thinking about past regrets or future worries, right? Hopefully you're engaged in some type of contemplative or meditative practice. Bonus points if you're improvising, because that will put you straight in the heart of the present moment. And you've also got to learn how to be really present by getting perspective on yourself as not just caught up in all these thoughts and emotions, but as that context for the thoughts and emotions. That's a little bit more sort of philosophical, but I find it great analogies thinking of yourself as the sky and those thoughts and emotions passing through as a cloud, right? So this is part of that inner work of just being present. The second part of this practice is to open up. That has to do with expression, of being radically accepting of your experience, of being open and vulnerable and being safe enough to really be fully expressive, radically accepting your experiences, your internal thoughts, cultivating some healthy distance from the thoughts and moving towards or refocusing, especially in when you're performing, right? This is pointing towards performance, how you're opening up. And the third, and I think most powerful one, is learning how to make it count, right? Be here now, open up and make it count. That involves choosing what are those values that you're going to choose as meaningful for you and you're going to pursue with your commitments. How are you going to act towards that? So again, this is sort of high level, but I'm giving you not just the tips or the what to do, but how to think and how to really organize your practices to be comprehensively thriving. So let me know in the comments below what you found most useful, or what you want to hear more about, less about. The reason I'm coming with you today is to really let you in onto giving me some feedback about how to make this even more valuable. So let me know. And if you do want to connect and chat, again, I'm opening up some slots in my calendar for 30-minute profit and passion call. That's a chance where we get a chance to connect one-on-one, and I get to hear really where you're at and take these general principles and apply them to your specific context. It's just a chance for us to connect and me to see how I could be of service. Again, I'm not into hard pitches or hard sales. I do have lots of ways I can help, and I'm going to launch a new program for you. But that's by application and invitation. If you're ready, you're going to know, and you're going to take the next step. So no hard sell, but if you want to connect, I'll leave a comment below, just so you can say thrive. And I'll send you information about how to just get a spot on my calendar so we can connect. So thank you so much for joining for day one. I'm going to sign off here. Tomorrow, we're going to look at parts 2 and 3 of that Thriving Musician Framework. Hope you're having a good one.